I wanted to make this video to help you guys getting ready for your quiz. And because normally my students have a lot of questions about determining whether an equation is a function when it's written in algebraic form. The ordered pairs, I think you guys are good. So like on E, when we're looking at a set of ordered pairs, you're just making sure that the x value doesn't repeat. So each x is paired with exactly one y value. And so this one is perfectly fine because the x doesn't repeat. So I think y'all are good with that. So what gets a little different is when you're looking at it in algebraic form, when you're looking at A through D. So I just want to make a few notes about algebraic form. So when we're looking at algebraic form, the y is important. All right. So for one, there must be a y. All right, so that's important. We're looking at y when there's an equation, and there has to be one. All right, and then that y has some restrictions. So if the y has an even power, that means when you would solve for it, you would have to take the square root or the fourth root. You'd have to do the positive and negative root. That means that it would not be a function because there would be two y's for each x. So one restriction is that y cannot have an even power. All right, and then also the y cannot be an absolute value because if you were solving for y and it was an absolute value, you'd make two equations, one with the positive version and one with the negative version. So that would make it not a function. So y cannot be inside absolute value. All right. So I'm going to look at your two worksheets that were reviews for your quiz. So the first one is the difference quotients in review for 1.2 to 1.4 quiz. On the back side, that's your assignment for today. And so I'm just going to go through these real quick and determine if they're functions or not. So for A, what's important when it's in algebraic form is the y. So we're going to find the y. And that y has an even power. So because the y has an even power, this is not a function. All right. Then for B, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the y. And the y doesn't have an even power. The y is not inside absolute value, so this is perfectly fine. It doesn't matter if the x is an absolute value. What matters is the y. All right. Then when we go to C, we want to find the y. There is no y. So if there is no y, then there is no function. All right. And when we get to D, we're going to find the y. The y is fine. It doesn't have an even power. The y isn't inside absolute value, so this is a function. We would also, I guess, on this one, just kind of check to make sure there's not a plus or minus in front of the square root, because that would give you two y's for one x. I'm not sure if that will come up, but just something to think about. Okay, so find this other worksheet real quick. So if you were in class, it was a little half worksheet that I gave you. And if you haven't already done it, pause the video and do these 6 questions and then start it again and double check with me. All right, so on A, we're going to look at y. Y is inside absolute value, so that means no. B, we're going to look at y. Nothing's going on weird, so it is yes. C, we look at y. Everything is fine. D, we look at y. Because y has an even power, that one is not a function. All right, let's skip E for now. Let's go to F. For F, we look for Y. There is no Y, so that's a no. All right, when we look at E, E is different. E is a set of ordered pairs. This is not in algebraic form, so we think a little differently. We're looking to make sure that the x coordinate doesn't repeat, but because it does, this is not a function. All right, so I hope that clears it up for you when you're getting ready for your quiz.